No monarch in modern times has embodied the life and fate of his country so completely as Norodom Sihanouk, who has died aged 89. He was king, then prince, then king again of Cambodia, demanding his royal role according to the needs of the hour and his own political will. He was also a filmmaker, journalist, editor and impresario as well as a leading, and often dominant, politician for more than 60 years. He began adult life as a young king chosen by the French as a puppet. But, aided by the upsets of the Second World. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. War, he outfoxed the colonial power and led his country to independence. The epic tale continued as the Prince Protector shielded his people from the worst of the Vietnam Wars, then as he held on through the dark years of usurpation and Khmer Rouge rule. Cambodia returned to something resembling normal life, with Sihanouk once again on the throne. But his country's rehabilitation was terribly flawed, and until his abdication in 2004 he found himself presiding over a poor, corrupt and divided nation, ruled by a bizarre duopoly of enemies. Over the years he sometimes succeeded in thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased, using his power and influence to avert the worst. But this domineering, mischievous and hyperactive man was undoubtedly the part author of his own and his country's misfortunes. Sihanouk managed to keep his country out of the conflict between the Americans and the Vietnamese for many years. But he must also bear some of the responsibility for the tragedies that then overtook Cambodia as it was drawn into the war, suffered from massive American bombing, and fell under Khmer Rouge rule. How much responsibility is the great question raised by his life? Some would say thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. That he dominated Cambodian politics because the political class was untalented, short-sighted and faction-ridden, and, as far as the left was concerned, too influenced by inexperienced and mediocre intellectuals. When Sihanouk was removed in the 1970 coup, these vices came into full play, at first in the incompetent, corrupt and unrealistic right-wing regime of Lon Nol and then, devastatingly, in the incompetent, ruthless and even more unrealistic left-wing regime of Pol Pot. Others have argued that the failings of the political class, left and right, were in part Sihanouk's handiwork, since he undermined every development that might thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Have led to multi-party politics. In abandoning his policy of balance, he forced many of those on the left, who would otherwise have continued in conventional politics, into the jungle, where they joined the Khmer Rouge. And although he joined forces with the Khmer Rouge after the coup, he proved wholly unable to influence them or to protect his people from them. Sihanouk was a man of eccentric charm. Journalists who visited Cambodia in the difficult final years of his personal rule, when he was trying to manipulate both the U.S. and North Vietnam, came to relish thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. His extraordinary performances at press conferences. He would read out press clippings in his high voice and follow up with a stream of jokes and imprecations. He was a great talker, but his assumption of expertise was often false. Born into the royal family in Phnom Penh, the Cambodian capital, Sihanouk received his early schooling at the main French lycée in the Vietnamese capital of Saigon. But he received no significant further formal training in political or military affairs, or in the artistic and scholarly pursuits in which he dabbled throughout his life, and for which he thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Had some talent. Never subject to any discipline and never facing any serious criticism in his artistic endeavors, he remained, as some would say he did in politics, an egotistical if gifted amateur. His early private life was flamboyant. During the 1940s and 50s he took at least 6 wives and consorts and fathered at least 14 children. The political management of such a large family, with its inevitable rivalries between different consorts and their sons, remained the problem for the rest of his life. Monique Izzy, daughter of an Italian father and Cambodian mother, was thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. His principal partner from the late 1950s. The French, representing the Nazi puppet Vichy regime, placed Sihanouk on the throne in 1941, setting aside more qualified candidates, including his own father. Sihanouk was 18, interested in football, jazz, riding, movies and girls. But an early sign that the French were mistaken about his pliability came after the Japanese ousted them in early 1945. Sihanouk followed the unavoidable Japanese-managed proclamation of independence with laws reinstating the Khmer alphabet and calendar. The French were soon back in charge and gave Cambodia a democratic constitution in thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. 1947, reserving most power, however, for themselves. Sihanouk sometimes played the French game, as they had expected, but increasingly came to use French techniques of political manipulation on his own behalf rather than theirs. He took the independence card from Cambodia's embryonic middle-class politicians, launching, in 1952, his own royal crusade for independence. Aided by events in Vietnam, he effectively showed the French the door. In 1955 he abdicated, putting his father on the throne. This shrewd move enabled him to avoid the constitutional problems of trying to be king and the country's leading politician at the thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Same time. Yet as Monseigneur the head of state, he never lost his monarchical aura, and indeed continued to exploit it in full. The great loss was that between 1947 and 1958 pluralist politics could have emerged in Cambodia around the middle-class Democratic Party, but Sihanouk, with the French egging him on in the early years, seized every opportunity to undermine that party and eventually destroy it. Cambodia became a quasi-dictatorship and one-party state under Sihanouk and the Sangkambriastarnium Popular Socialist Community. Nor were his hands as clean as he liked to maintain. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. His regime killed, imprisoned and intimidated opponents, admittedly on a scale dwarfed by later excesses. Sihanouk's peak years came between 1955 and 1962, when his touch was sure and his dominance nearly absolute. He picked the candidates for the National Assembly in 1958 and 1962, and expertly managed the country's cabinets. By sudden changes of direction, he threw rivals and allies off balance. As soon as a cabinet was formed or an assembly had gathered, even though he had chosen them himself, he immediately began to undercut the strongest groups and individuals. He thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once